everyone, it's Dr. K writing under oath. Thanks for visiting my YouTube channel, and please visit my website of the same name, writingunderoath.com. Please visit and submit a serious theory of nonfiction. I would like to share an academic story with you. It's rather complicated, but I think it's worth telling in case any other adjunct professors run into a similar problem. I worked at a community college where there was open enrollment, so the academic achievements, even the behavior of the students was in no way checked. Anyone gets in with open enrollment. You know what the plight is of adjunct professors by this time. Here, I'll give you an example. The chair of the department at this community college is about 25 years old. Her highest degree is a master's. She dresses like a slob. Not that that's, a requirement for the job, certainly not. But she makes $113,000 a year. An adjunct professor like me with a PhD and an 8-year history at this community college, I make teaching 6 courses a year, that's 3 per semester. I make about $10,000 a year with my PhD. The full-time professors who are making 98 to well over 100,000, their full-time schedule is 2 courses. So obviously there's incredible exploitation going on here because there is no regulation, and with a government that seeks to regulate most of the matters in our private and working lives, I'm surprised they haven't gotten to this field yet. So, 8-year history at the college, teaching 3 courses, spotless history. I run into a student in my class who is extremely disruptive. A situation I should have handled at the very beginning. I tried, it didn't work. I didn't want confrontation because confrontation results in a lot of extra work for the faculty member in terms of attending conferences to give this student their fair shake when you complain about them to security or the department administrators. Her disruption was constantly talking and then adding texting later on during the class. She initiated the talking, and it was always to the same girl who was sitting beside her. Halfway through the semester, I again, in a class, asked her to stop talking, and she says to me, "I don't understand what you're saying, and I don't care." She was also texting. So I suggested that maybe if she put the phone away and stopped talking, that she might have an opportunity to understand what I was saying, lecturing about. Students in an open enrollment school don't understand lectures and they don't like them. They want to be entertained, like the professor should be an actor in a TV show. I'm not saying that this is the situation in all colleges, because it certainly is not. But at this college, it happens to be the case. She said, "I'm just texting my father. I have a right to do that." So I said, "Please put your phone away." So she merely took her hands off the phone and left it on the desk. I asked her to put the phone away. She said, expletive. "I don't have to put my phone away. This is a free country." So, I asked her to move her seat so that she wouldn't be sitting next to this girl and not be able to control her compulsion to talk. She said, "I'm not moving my seat, and besides, it's the end of the class, so I'm leaving you, expletive, expletive." So I picked up my phone to call security. She comes up to the podium where I'm standing, and she says, "Rumor has it that you are about to lose your job, you, expletive, expletive." And she leaves the room. I call security. They ask me to meet them a little later. The next professor comes into the class, and students are still leaving. She pops her head in the door and says, "You, expletive, expletive, you're fired. I'm going to the chair." The professor who came into the room urged me to call security immediately, which I had already done. I met with security later and said that I didn't want the student back in my class. There were students in my class who said that if she came back, they were leaving. So she was clearly not only disruptive, but a threat. That night, I send an email to my chair explaining verbatim what happened. And that evening, I get an email from the chair asking me to meet her at 8:45 the next morning with the dean, which is standard procedure. I show up at 8:45 and nobody's in the office, so I send her another email. "You weren't there." She writes back, "Didn't you get my email from the night before changing the time and location?" "Well, no, I didn't." So she said, "Well, I'll send it to you again." I go to my 10 o'clock class, and the chair is standing outside the door, and she says, "No need for you to teach today until we have our meeting." And I said, "Well, then I'll teach at my class after the meeting." And she says, no need to do that." And I said, "Are you firing me?" And she said, "You just need to go to the meeting. There's going to be a union representative there for you." So I contact my union rep before I get to the meeting, and when I get to it, that person is there to represent me. The dean of the department, the chair, the director of adjuncts, and my union rep are there. The chair accuses me of swearing at this student. She said that the student and several other students wrote her long emails and complained that I wasn't holding class on Fridays. Here's an aside. I was holding class on Fridays online and giving myself 10 times the work that I would have had I physically met the class. Instead, we met online, and they had the opportunity to contact me personally if they didn't understand something. The students loved the schedule, as you can imagine. So this student swore at me in order to deflect the laser beam on her behavior. Instead, uses the occasion to complain about my lack of physically meeting the students on Friday. She knows what she's doing. So the meeting is turned into a meeting to fire me for not meeting my class physically on Fridays, despite the fact that many other, especially full-time faculty members with their 2 full-time course load, routinely drop the second or third day and tell the students to stay home and study on their own. So the meeting was like a coup and a subterfuge, in that we weren't meeting to discuss the students' behavior. We were meeting so they could fire me, which they did. A few weeks go by, and the union has filed a grievance on my behalf. The chair and the entourage violated at least 4 codes of union regulation that they must follow because they signed a contract with this union for adjuncts, procedures that must be followed in their contract. One of them is a 10-day written notice that if I continue doing whatever it is I'm doing, I could be fired. Received no such notice. Another one was unfair firing because other faculty are doing the same thing. Another one was using a meeting as a guise to address one issue when another issue should have been addressed. And there was a fourth violation. I forgot what that was. My point is that for 8 years, I paid into this union involuntarily a good portion of my income. And I'm against doing that. And I still am against doing it. Although I must say that this is a union which comes through for adjuncts. It's an independent union just for adjuncts. And I urge all adjuncts to make sure, especially if they're paying involuntarily into the union, that the union be a union for adjuncts exclusively, because they will stand up for you. I don't know what the outcome of the grievance is yet, but I also filed a complaint with the ADA that they violated ADA laws. So we'll see what comes of this. Stay tuned. Thanks for listening, everyone. Dr. K, writing under oath.